Good afternoon. Welcome to Business 360, your complete view of the stories driving business, markets, and the economy. I'm Apa Ongpin, and this is the Bilyonaryo News Channel. AMRO cuts forecast and now sees inflation hitting 6% this year. More imported pork is coming in at lower tariffs after the government increased the minimum access volume, or MAV. The British Chamber of the Philippines, Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines joins us. And on Wall Street, Anthropic, the company behind AI platform Claude, files to go public ahead of rival OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. Economic Research Office, or AMRO, cut its growth forecast for the country this year from 5.3%. AMRO sees full-year growth at 4.1%, slower than 2025. At the same time, AMRO raised its inflation forecast for the Philippines to 6% this year from 3.9% before. That's the biggest inflation upgrade of any economy in the region. At 6%, inflation would run well above the central bank's previous 2 to 4% target. That's also more than triple the 1.7% recorded last year. AMRO warns the region is at risk of stagflation if the Middle East conflict drags on. It singled out the Philippines and Vietnam as the economies where rising prices are expected to weigh most on growth. In a worst-case scenario, AMRO says regional inflation could hit its highest in over a decade, and growth could slow to its weakest since the Asian financial crisis in the late 90s. The peso is testing its weakest level on record. The local currency is expected to close anytime now after opening at 61.74 and sliding to 61.75 intraday. Yesterday, the peso sank close to the record low of 61.75 last May 19, 2026. The peso is depreciating over uncertainty on the talks to end the U.S.-Iran war. United States President Donald Trump is optimistic a ceasefire deal with Iran is within reach, even as Tehran reportedly walked away from the negotiating table. Iran said it suspended indirect talks with the United States, accusing Israel of violating the ceasefire with its military operations in Lebanon. Iran is also threatening to fully close the Strait of Hormuz once again. But Trump insists Washington has received no formal notice that negotiations have stopped. He even says a deal could come within a week. Still, tensions remain high, with both sides accusing each other of breaking the ceasefire.
One of the obstacles to negotiations with the current U.S. administration is precisely the frequent changes in positions and the contradictory and conflicting statements. There are, of course, different ways to describe these shifts in positions. Naturally, whenever one side changes its position, the other side must also apply its own views and considerations accordingly. It is not possible for one side to repeatedly introduce new demands or positions while expecting the other side simply to accept them. This situation undoubtedly disrupts the process and makes the path longer. This is the minimum that can be said about the outcome of this approach in negotiations.
Local shares rise for a second straight day, tracking a recovery in Asian markets. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index closed at the 5,900 level, with all sectors ending in the green. The day's most active stocks were mixed. Jollibee rebounded after falling sharply last week, following its demotion to the MSCI Small Cap Index. Megaworld posts double-digit growth to start the year, defying a sluggish property market. The Andrew Tan-led developer says reservation sales rose 10.4% in the first quarter to nearly 30 billion pesos. The flagship parent company accounted for 71% of the total, generating more than 21 billion pesos in reservation sales. But even as sales climb, Megaworld is moving to clean up its books. In a separate filing, the company says it will funnel most of the proceeds from a recent AMRO share sale. That is about 360 million pesos, going straight into paying debt associated with its projects in Taguig and Pasay. San Miguel is going back to the market for fresh funding. The conglomerate is looking to raise up to 30 billion pesos through a preferred share offering. In its preliminary prospectus, San Miguel said the proceeds will be used to refinance short-term loans and pay off bonds maturing in March next year. Part of the money will also go to its infrastructure business, including the Manila International Airport and other airport-related projects in Bulacan. Philippine Airlines is strengthening its board, electing 2 new independent directors. In a disclosure, PAL said it appointed Makati Business Club Chairman Edgar Chua and Malaysian aviation veteran Dato Captain Isham Ismail during its annual shareholders meeting. The appointments took effect June 1st. Chua served more than a decade as country chairman of shell companies in the Philippines, bringing deep experience in corporate governance and strategy. Isham, meanwhile, led Malaysia Aviation Group as its group managing director. He brought more than 4 decades in the industry and steered the carrier through a major restructuring before retiring this year. On Wall Street, the company behind the AI chatbot Claude is going public. Anthropic has confidentially filed for a U.S. IPO, potentially putting it ahead of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. Anthropic was valued at nearly $965 billion last month after a $65 billion fundraise. Its revenue exploded to an annual rate of roughly $47 billion, up from around $9 billion just a year ago. NVIDIA wants to bring AI closer to your personal computer. The chipmaker has introduced a new PC chip that can power AI features directly on laptops and desktops. That puts NVIDIA deeper into competition with AMD, Intel, and Apple. The chip was developed as part of NVIDIA's work with Microsoft to reinvent the PC for the AI era. Wall Street hit new records as AI optimism outweighed concerns over the Middle East. The Nasdaq and the S&P 500 closed at fresh highs, led by tech shares. Investors cheered NVIDIA's new AI chip for personal computers.
Stocks continue to run really based on extraordinary fundamentals. If we look at the earnings backdrop over Q2 and really year to date, it all continues to accelerate. And it's in big part due to AI and AI spend and expanse there. We see guiding up from Microsoft and NVIDIA, Meta, really go on down the line on hyperscalers. But that is also working its way throughout other components of the markets, right? Dell last week, extraordinary beat and obviously moving their way up. And so if we look at S&P right now on track for about 20% earnings growth, that's an incredible rate mid-cycle here.
Coming up, more imported pork is coming in at lower tariffs after the government increased the minimum access volume. The British Chambers of Commerce of the Philippines joins us next. This is Business 360.
Ladies and gentlemen, what happened today was a clear abandonment of responsibility, a dereliction of duty, and a blatant disregard of the rules that govern this institution. Because the Senate cannot be made to stop working simply because its presiding officer refuses to lead. Under Rule 14, Section 41, the rules of the Senate President may postpone the holding of the session after consultation with the majority leader and the minority leader. that rule was violated. This is not merely a procedural lapse. It is a direct violation of the rules of the Senate and a serious disrespect for the institution and the Filipino people. Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano should resign, as he has shown that he cannot function as the leader of the Senate anymore. Thank you. That is our joint statement of the SB 11, the minority. That was that's under our.
Sir, nag-attempt po ba kayo na kontakin si SB? Or kahit sila sa majority?
Through the secretary, yes.
So, sir, ano expectation tomorrow? Magkakaroon pa ba ng session or wala na?
We'll be here because it's our duty.
And we appeal to all our colleagues. They should attend session. It is their duty. Binabayaran tayo ng taong bayan para magtrabaho, para mag-legislate. Hindi para mag-absent naman at magbulakbol.
Sir, nakikita yung last session day na bukas.
Sir, paano po tomorrow, last session day na po?
Every day, ang Senate gumagastos ng 25 million sa kuryente, sa utilities, sa sweldo, pero walang session nangyari. Walang batas na na-approve, walang resolution na approve, pati mga confirmation ng mga military personnel natin hindi na-approve. Sayang ang bayad ng taong bayan.
Sir, kung may
At
violation
lahat ito, dahil lamang sa isa sa mga kasamahan nila ay nakakulong o dinampot ng PNP kahapon.
Sir, parliamentary tool daw to, sabi ni SP Cayetano, para matuloy yung Blue Ribbon Committee hearing on Thursday at para di nyo daw po maagaw yung ibang committee na chairmanship, sabi po sa live niya kanina.
Abuse po yan ng sinasabi niyang parliamentary rules ng Senado. Hindi po namin hinahadlangan magpatuloy ang anumang pagdinig ng komite basta nasa tamang paraan. Mabuti binawi nila yung subcommittee. And the numbers will always speak for themselves. Habang ganito ang bilang namin, kami ang minority. Dapat siya rin, si Senate President at ang majority, maging matapang harapin ang mandato o kakulangan ng mandato ng buong Senado dito sa floor.
Ang masakit niyan, imbis na pumasok siya rito, itong si SP Alan, sa Facebook siya, pumapasok. Dito dapat siya magsalita. Dito dapat siya mag-debate kung anong gusto niyang gawin. Huwag naman sa social media.
So, kung may violation sa rules, ano yung pwedeng gawin sa pag hindi nila pagpasok ng ilang araw?
We will be tackling that hopefully by tomorrow. Again, the rule says and the Constitution says that we should meet at 3 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, as a matter of fact, even Thursday should be a working day also. We'll cross the bridge when we get there. We'll see.
At hinihiling po namin sa mga kasama namin na nagmamahal pa po sa Senado at nais magtrabaho para sa taong bayan. Pumasok po bukas, magkita-kita tayo dito, pwedeng pagdebatihan kahit anong bagay, pwede pong pag-usapan kahit anong bagay. Dito po kami magdiskusyonan dahil nandito po tayo para magtrabaho. Hinihikayat po namin lahat ng kasama namin na nagmamahal pa dito po sa Senado, pumasok tayo bukas, magtrabaho tayo para sa taong bayan.
Sir, kung hindi sila pupunta, sir?
Hinahamon ko si Alan Peter Cayetano, kung matapang ka, pumunta ka rito bukas. Otherwise, duwag ka.
Sir, if they will still not show up tomorrow, mag-a-adjourn without settling anything?
Tingnan natin. That's why we're appealing to our colleagues, yung mga kasama natin. Nagampanan natin yung ating trabaho kasi pinabayaran tayo ng taong bayan. At bawat araw na hindi natutuloy ang session, hindi napapatupad yung batas, hindi na-implement yung mga dapat namin ipatupad, yung gaya kanina, yung may mga tao pumunta dito para i-confirm, hindi nako-confirm. Sayang ang panahon.
Para aside from these balls, sa Thursday, paano po yung Blue Ribbon?
Uy, wala naman tayong pinipigil na
Hindi po namin inahadlagan yung Blue Ribbon. Ituloy po nila yung Blue Ribbon.
Figment of their imagination lang ang ginagawa nila. Wala naman kaming ginagawang hadlang sa proseso ng Senado. At mga agenda ng Senado, wala.
Yung sinasabing Senate independence, ako'y naniniwala. This is actually, sa dami na nilalabag ng rules ng Senado, it's actually impunity masquerading as assertion of the Senate as an independent institution. Impunity ito. Sunod-sunod ang paglabag. Mula nung May 11, mula nung pagbubuo ng mga komite, mula nung kami nag-walk out dahil nga hindi kinikilala o dinidisregard, binabaliwala ang ating rules. At hanggang ngayon, hanggang kanina, hanggang kahapon, binabaliwala ang ating rules. Hindi ito tama. Kaya kami sa SB 11 ay tutol dito dahil impunity ito, hindi ito Senate independence.
Sir, anong measures to hold them accountable, sir? If it is impunity, sir, what are the measures to hold them accountable?
Okay, ganito na lang, no? We appeal to the rest of the members of the majority bloc. Huwag na si Senate President kasi we appeal to their sense of duty, of the responsibility. Kasi mukhang untenable na si SP kasi siya yung nagsasabi sa mga kasama namin na huwag mag-attend ng session. So we now appeal to the rest of the members of the majority bloc. We appeal to their sense of duty na sana mag-attend sila ng session bukas.
So, sir, you have majority bukas pwede na open ang session?
Well, under the rules, pag wala yung SP, pwede mag-preside ang pro tem. Pag wala yung SP and pro tem, pwede mag-preside ang majority leader. Pag wala yung tatlo, pwede mag-preside any of the two deputy majority leaders.
Sir, you have
Or any other
information.
member designated by the Senate President.
So, sir, you have information na talagang utos po ni SP Cayetano na huwag
Yun ang
mag-attend
nirelease
ng
sa amin
session.
ng secretariat.
Tsaka nag-live na naman siya sa Facebook kanina para sabihin in effect yun. At maling-mali pa yung sinabi niya kahapon na let the Senate go quiet. Ang Senado ay dapat boses ng mamamayan. Bakit niya bubusalan? Kung bubusalan niya at hindi niya bibigyang daan yung boses ng Senado alang-alang sa mamamayan, talagang hindi na siya karapat-dapat mamuno dito.
Meron na po ba sa mga majority?
Ganito, no? At what price? Ang pinoprotektahan lang yung Senate presidency, power, position. Kaya nag-a-appel kami sa isa bang kasamahan namin sa majority bloc. Ano bang price para sa inyo? Sa tingin namin wala eh. Tingin namin nakikisama lang sila kay Senate President Cayetano.
Ako naniniwala, hindi naman lahat sa majority ay mga loko-loko, no? Meron pa rin sa kanilang mamabait. So I appeal to those members of the majority na meron pang katinuan sa pag-iisip, pumasok na lang kayo.
Meron na po.
Sir, may pag-alok po ba kay Sen. Jingo Estrada na umanib kapalit pagbasura raw po ng kaso sa kanya?
Walang ganun.
Yung pakikipag-usap sa isang kasama namin, let's say member ng majority, kinakausap ng minority, o yung minority kinakausap ng majority, normal yun. In any parliament, normal yun. Pero yung para sabihin na meron,
walang pananakot.
Hindi ka
Walang
namin
pressure.
makukulong. We don't have that power. We have no power over the ombudsman. What happened is the rule of law. What can we do?
Sir, are you also appealing to the majority na lumipat sa inyo?
Yes.
Sa minority?
Why not?
Sino-sino po kaya?
Lahat sila.
Meron na po ba sa lahat na?
Para lang si Alan Peter. Lahat, lipitan namin. Tumalit kayo sa amin. Pero si Alan Peter, steady ka lang dyan.
Meron na po ba sa majority na nagsabi na hindi rin nila gusto itong ginagawa na pagbo-boycott sa plenary session?
Meron, marami.
Alam ko, marami po sa kanila.
Marami nagte-text sa akin na gusto talaga nila magtrabaho, hindi nila maintindihan bakit nagkakagusto. For the first time in my 14 years in this institution nangyari ito, na hindi po tinawag ang session dahil ayaw ng presiding officer. Never has it happened in my time here in the Senate, and I'm sure the longest serving is Senator Kiko, Senator Sen, ay hindi po nangyayari pa yan pag nangyari dito sa atin. So talagang this is unprecedented, and I think it is really a dereliction of duty and a abandonment of this post as the leader of this institution.
Sir, kapag hindi pa nag-session bukas,
Hindi pa na kami ng paumanhin dahil kanina, yung dalawang third reading sana, nandyan ulit. And I told them, I apologize to them, I apologize to the Filipino people on behalf of the Senate that this is going the way it is. Apat dun sa 8 naka-agenda today, dapat dalawang agri-bills na makikinabang sana ang ating mga magsasaka at mga isda at yung citizenship bills. Lahat hindi na-actionan dahil dito sa abandonment of responsibility.
Plus dalawang health
Pati yung
bills,
PhilHealth ni Senator Risa.
Magna Carta of Barangay Health Workers at saka Anti-Hospital Detention Bill. Nasa amendments na. Hindi nila bigyang daan ang sesyon para makumpleto yan para sa ating
Sa lahat,
kababayan.
sabihin na lang natin tulong kay Ma'am Risa, sa lahat ng nasa ospital na yun, na mga mahihirap natin mamamayan, na hino-hostage ng ospital dahil hindi makabayad, kasalanan ni Alan Cayetano yan dahil ipapasa na sana namin ang batas na yan na pagbabawal yung paggagawa ng ganyan, na i-hostage yung pasyente.
Thank you.
Hindi natin na ipasa.
Sir,
Oh, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. Oh, then, resign.
Sir, sino pwede mag-preside mo? Ang kahapon. Sir, sino lang po pwede mag-preside mo?
Should I? You on the line? Hi, Hannah, are you on the line? Can you?
Apa.
Yeah. So, what just happened? Well, we saw what just what the senator said, but can you tell us the background? Was this a sudden explosion or what?
Yes. Apa, kaharap natin ngayon si Senator J.V. Ejercito. He's actually the ethics. He used to be the ethics committee chair. At hindi pa nasasagot kung merong impending na impeachment complaint kaugnay nung impeachment rather, sorry, it should be ethics complaint. Pinag-uusapan pa raw kung posible ang ethics complaint laban sa mga senador na no-show sa Senate plenary ngayong hapon. Pero isa dun sa pinaka-highlight nung naging interview or press con nitong Senate minority ay umaapela sila doon sa Senate majority members na pumasok bukas at hinihikayat nilang lumipat na sa Senate minority dahil nga ito raw ay dereliction of duty o pagiging pabaya sa trabaho, itong hindi pagsipot ng mayorya sa sesyon. For Senator Raffy Tulfo, naniniwala siya na hindi naman daw lahat ng nasa majority ay loko-loko. Kaya naniniwala sila na tomorrow sana merong lumitaw na majority member. At sa ngayon, lumitaw din itong si Senator Kiko Pangilinan dito sa harap ng Senate media. At tinatanong siya ngayon kung pwede nga ba itong pag-file ng ethics complaint laban sa mga senador na no-show.
Then would you appeal to the Supreme Court?
Sabi ni Pangilinan, yan ay pag-aaralan pa. At i-explore daw nila ang legal remedies sakaling matapos na ang sesyon ngayong linggo at hindi pa rin sumulpot itong Senate majority. So far, 4:25 na, higit isang oras nang walang Senate majority member na sumulpot dito sa plenaryo at kani-kanina lang actually nag-Facebook live na naman itong si Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano kahit no-show siya dito sa plenary at ni-recall niya yung nangyaring walkout ng Senate minority just a few days ago kung saan lahat ng minority members ay nag-walk out sa gitna ng debate dun sa usapan nga sa kung isasalang ba itong remote voting na panukala sa Senate plenary. At sabi ni SP Alan, kung ganun daw na ginagamit na parliamentary tool itong pag-walk out ng Senate minority, ganun din daw ang ginagawa ng Senate majority. Ginagamit daw nila ang rules. Ayon po yan kay SP Alan, morally and legally to ensure daw na hindi agawin yung mga komite para raw matuloy yung hearing ng Blue Ribbon sa Thursday. Magkakaroon kasi ng Blue Ribbon Committee hearing sa Thursday, APA. At sabi ni SP Alan, that's itong hindi pagsulpot ng Senate majority sa plenaryo ay isa yon sa mga dahilan no, para raw matuloy pa itong BRC hearing by Thursday. So, ay inaasahan natin na itong Blue Ribbon Committee hearing ay i-chair pa ni Senator Pia Cayetano habang nananatili ang Senate majority sa pwesto at wala pang nangyayaring change of leadership. So ang focus dapat ng Blue Ribbon hearing na yon, Apa, ay pag-resume ng investigation ng Senado sa flood control scandal. Sabi naman ng Senate minority kanina, wala raw silang anumang planong pagtatangka na harangin ang anumang flood control scandal investigation, ano pa mang investigasyon sa Senado, basta raw yan ay dumadaan sa legal na paraan. So, natanong din natin kung posible bang umakyat ito sa Korte Suprema itong hindi pagsulpot ng Senate majority. Sabi naman ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan, that's actually one of many legal remedies that they can actually explore. At kung matatandaan natin, kahapon, first time na nag-no-show ang Senate majority dito sa plenary, just hours after the arrest of and surrender of Senator Jinggoy Estrada, na namataan pang kasama si SP Alan at ilang majority members na sina Senators Amy Marcos, Rodante Marcoleta, and Camille Villar bago siya dinala sa Camp Crame. Yan ay kaugnay ng warrant of arrest over a plunder case na may kaugnayan din sa flood control scandal. At hinintay ng Senate minority itong pagsulpot ni SP Alan at ng iba pang majority members sa plenary kahapon, pero it was around, I think, past 7 p.m. pero hindi sumulpot itong Senate majority. At kinlaim pa ni Senator Raffy Tulfo na pinatayan daw sila ng aircon at wifi, na kinumpirma rin ng Senate Secretariat na nangyari nga itong pagpatay ng aircon, pero later naman ay na-restore din daw. Pero pagdating sa wifi, because peak hours, probably the reason daw kaya namatay yung wifi ay dahil sa dami ng tao rin dito sa plenary kahapon. So sa ngayon, Apa, wala na yung Senate minority members sa Senate plenary, at inaasahan natin kung tomorrow susulpot na itong mayorya kasama si SP Alan. At kung sakaling hindi magpakita tong si SP Alan, ang pwedeng maging presiding officer ay si Senate President Pro Tempore Loren Legarda, na kanina ay naispatan pa natin dito sa Senate premises because she's chairing the Committee on Basic Education na nagkaroon ng hearing kanina, pero hindi siya sumagot kung may balak ba siyang dumalo sa plenary sessions, at she also declined to comment kung ang majority ba ay susulpot din. That's the latest so far here at the Senate. Apa?
Thank you, Hanati, for reporting on this confusing situation. Okay, we're taking a break. Stay with us. Business 360. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. Just to recap, the Senate, the minority, Senate minority came to work today to find not a single member of the Senate majority, and therefore there was no session. The Senate President, Alan Peter Cayetano, apparently had told the majority members not to attend, and so there was no session. He had appeared on Facebook Live and said, these minority members had walked out, of a previous session, and they, therefore, they did not allow the Senate to transact its business. But the minority guys today said that Cayetano's move was a violation of Senate rules, and that these people, the senators, should be going to work and should be holding session. There is no excuse for non-attendance. So they challenged Cayetano to resign. They asked the majority members to come to work tomorrow and have a session. And they also told them, you should leave the majority and join us, make us the majority. So that's what's happening at the Senate today. All right, in other news, the Philippines has just opened the door to more imported pork, raising the minimum access volume, or MAV, in a bid to lower prices. One of the groups that pushed for the higher quota is the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Its executive director, Chris Nelson, joins us via Zoom from Portugal. Welcome to Business 360, Chris.
Apo, thank you very much, and a warm welcome to all your viewers as well.
Okay, so the British Chamber lobbied for the higher pork MAV. Are you satisfied with how the volume is being divided? 120,000 metric tons are being routed through the Food Terminal Incorporated and Kadiwa, and the 30,000 metric tons are going to processors.
So first of all, let me just put into context. We've been arguing for an increase in the MAV since 2023. And the reason is that your minimum access volume was set in 1996. The population of the Philippines then was about 72 million. Today it's 118 million. And as your economic report said, obviously what we've seen is inflation has increased. Part of that is actually meat prices, but of course driven by fuel costs. And of course this has an impact on total economic growth. So in terms of increasing the MAV, what we see that is a need to increase supply, particularly at this moment, which obviously is highlighted in the executive order. Now, regarding the allocations, what we see for the allocations is that they should be given on, as previously, on a first-come, first-served basis. We're hoping to have a discussion with the Department of Agriculture. We're hoping to have that meeting, but they've obviously been engaged with meetings in Congress. So we would urge the Department of Agriculture to look at how they can go back to what was the previous allocation methodology so that we can get imports flowing, which would help obviously supply and pricing.
Okay, so right now the 30,000 metric tons that are going to processors doesn't seem enough to stabilize the prices of processed meat products. And also local producers are having problems with Asian swine flu, which is one of the drivers of increasing these allocations. The DA itself, however, the Department of Agriculture, flagged that a larger MAV could pull farm gate prices down further while the hog sector is still recovering from ASF. And lawmakers have raised the same worry about local producers. How does the Chamber balance the relief for consumers against the pressure on local producers?
No, we understand the overriding concerns. So I think, Apo, you have to look at it. What are the immediate needs? So the first point I'd like to raise is that the opportunity to assist the government clearly is on inflation. Inflation, as flagged, I think, in one of the earlier reports, AMRO has now put it at 6% for the year. Last month was 7.2%. Now, unfortunately, ASF is in the country. It still resides. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, we understand that the pig herds are now down to its lowest level since 1994. Therefore, I think the following has to be done. One, we need to have, and we've seen the growth of high-quality British pork coming in. We're not the largest, but there has been significant growth over the last 3 to 4 years. And that will certainly assist on supply. Now, regarding in terms of and I understand the challenges of the local hog farmers. However, I would also refer you to one of the agreements the UK has working with the Philippine government, which is the Joint Economic Committee called JETCO. And within JETCO, there is an aspect to focus on how we can better foster agriculture and what support we can give. So I think the immediate challenge is to actually address the supply, to balance it with the consumers, and thereafter see how you can work together with the local industry. But I think the final thing I want to say here is we as British exporters and working through our trade board, the Agriculture and Horticultural Development Board, want to develop and are developing long-term relationships. This is a partnership between the UK and the Philippines, and it's part of the growth in trade that we've seen for both countries.
Yeah, and I think it's really benefiting both countries. Pork imported within the quota is taxed at 15% versus 25% for pork outside the quota. How do we make sure that lower cost, I mean, it's not the British Chamber's job, but it's the Department of Agriculture for sure. How do we make sure that lower cost reaches consumers and doesn't just pad somebody's margin?
Well, that is a challenge. I do think that we obviously work, as I said, we work through AHDB. They work through their members who are obviously exporters. They develop long-term relations. And I think that's very important. Since we've been working with AHDB since 2001, we've had 8 trade missions, both actual and virtual. They were planning to visit again the Philippines. During those times, they visit processors. They also visit the market. And of course, the exporters visit the local importers. It is always difficult to control price and supply. However, the key is the supply. And look, the challenge is not just on pork. We fully understand the economic challenges that the Philippines is facing, driven specifically by the Middle East conflict. As we know, that's raised fuel costs sharply, and transport is a key element within the Philippines. So I do think that helping these supplies, I mean, that was noted in the executive order. And if we can have those, as I said, the allocations discussed so we can get it floating in, I think that will ultimately see prices coming down, and the consumer can benefit from, obviously, particularly in the case of the UK, knowing that it's good quality meat coming in, and we'll have both an important aspect on food security and, of course, easing on inflation on that specific sector.
Okay, you've called the expansion an important step for UK-Philippine trade, and it is. Realistically, how much of the expanded MAV can the UK pork exporters capture, given competition from the rest of the EU, from the US, Canada, and other established suppliers?
No, sure. I mean, first of all, we are not the largest supplier. We've grown significantly, as I said, since that 2001. I mean, our total volumes have been between 18 to 19,000 metric tons a year. This first quarter has seen, based on figures from AHDB, about 5,000 tons. So we're up about over 13%. But we're not the largest. I think when it comes down to getting those volumes or how we can grow with that, then I come back to the point I made earlier, Apa, which is about long-term relations. We've been working closely with importers. We specifically work very closely with the Importers Association. That's the president, Jess Cham. And obviously through also there's been invites back to the UK for some of the key importing companies to see work going on in the UK in terms of the production of pork. So I think that will all assist. We will not be the largest. That will be with other countries, possibly Brazil, Spain. But I think what's important here is that it adds to the growth of UK-Philippines trade. Meat and meat preparations are the 5th largest or most valuable of the 2. And the total trade between the 2 countries, I think for the UK, is the 56th largest. And as I mentioned earlier, this is now recognized by having a higher level of commitment, which is JETCO. And it just shows how trade and business between the two countries is continuing to grow. And I'm confident not just on meat, but in other areas will continue to increase.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, Chris Nelson of the British Chamber of Commerce, Philippines.
Thank you very much.
More stories when we return. Business 360. We'll be right back.
Charles.
Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. Amid criticism, such as we had on the show yesterday, a unit of San Miguel Corporation is defending the tree clearing works for its Salex Expressway project in Manila. The SMC Southern Access Link Expressway, or Salex, says the removal and relocation of trees along Quirino Avenue are covered by permits. The group notes the route was chosen after studying other options and was deemed the most feasible based on engineering requirements and the need to limit displacement. The Chamber of Mines says tree clearing by legal mining is allowed, but only under strict environmental rules. Mining firms must secure government approvals and meet reforestation requirements. For every planted tree cleared, they must plant 50 seedlings and 100 for every naturally growing tree. Naturally occurring trees must be replaced with native species. Companies must also maintain and protect these trees for at least 3 years. The Department of Education admits there is a learning crisis as senior high school students struggle to read. An EDCOM2 study reveals that 87% of grade 11 students still need the help of their teachers to read. The department attributes the learning crisis to social and economic factors. In response, DepEd launched remediation programs to resolve learning recovery. The country is lacking around 165,000 classrooms and nearly 30,000 teachers ahead of the opening of classes. I think that's next week. Evia Zunik has the story.
Excitement or anxiety. For some teachers, concerns appear to outweigh their excitement as classes open for school year 2026 to 2027.
Sa pagbubukas ng panibagong school year, isang tanong ang sabay-sabay nating naririnig sa mga paaralan at sa mga tahanan. Excited ka ba sa pasukan?
The Action and Solidarity for the Empowerment of Teachers, or ASSERT, says several issues in the education sector remain unresolved. An estimated 165,000 classrooms are still needed, while the country continues to face a shortage of nearly 30,000 teachers. The group is also calling for the hiring of more administrative officers to help ease teachers' non-teaching workload. ASSERT welcomes the reforms being implemented by the Department of Education. However, it stresses that these reforms should help address the learning crisis and not create additional burdens for teachers.
Sa loob ng 60 taon nito, hindi ito kailanman nilagyan ng budget allocation ng DepEd.
Meanwhile, ASSERT renewed its call for the full implementation of the Magna Carta for public school teachers and other policies aimed at protecting teachers' welfare. The group also cited poor internet connectivity, a lack of digital tools, and limited access to learning resources among most students. Teachers remain hopeful that these long-standing issues will finally be addressed to improve the quality of teaching and learning. Evia Zunich, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
A Filipina scientist in California is using artificial intelligence to speed up the search for life-saving treatments. We have this story from our U.S. correspondent, Henny Espinosa.
Inside San Francisco's Museum of Modern Art, women founders, innovators, and entrepreneurs recently gathered for Diversify, Female Founders in Focus. An event spotlighting women reshaping the future of technology, business, and science.
They're not waiting to be invited to the table. No, they are building the table.
As artificial intelligence reshapes industries all over the world, one Filipino scientist from the San Francisco Bay Area is using AI to address one of the bottlenecks in medicine: how to speed up process for life-saving treatments. Helping lead that effort is Filipino scientist, entrepreneur, and biotech founder Liza Danan, who was one of those featured at the event.
There are not that many of us Filipinas in tech, definitely not in AI, definitely not that many as well in drug development. So when you start thinking about that and having a global impact, having a startup that's like women-led, Filipino-led, making its way to be one of the best startups in what we do, it's definitely one of a kind.
For nearly 3 decades, Danan has worked in mass spectrometry and drug development, helping advance therapies for cancer, autoimmune diseases, COVID-19, and other illnesses. From her studies in the Philippines and at UC Davis to leadership roles in biotech, Danan saw a growing challenge. Scientists were generating massive amounts of data, but often lacked the tools to keep up. That challenge inspired her to launch Liveritas, which develops AI-powered tools to help scientists analyze complex data, accelerate research, and make faster decisions in drug development.
It makes us extremely powerful scientists so that we can quickly extract information from complex raw data and help decision makers make proper decisions that are based on data.
Danan says Liveritas has developed dozens of AI-powered tools to help researchers work faster and bring life-changing treatments to patients sooner.
I'm hoping that, through these tools that we've developed at Liveritas, we can accelerate all of those groundbreaking discoveries of novel therapeutics that can help patients not just extend their lives, but have better lifestyles after the illness, right? Like maybe not lose hair as much or not have side effects that can cripple them or make them sensitive to all kinds of things.
But behind the science is a deeply personal story. Over the years, Danan watched several close friends battle cancer. Eventually, she faced her own diagnosis. After surviving cancer, Danan says she began focusing not only on her health, but also on reconnecting with a part of herself she had set aside while pursuing academic and professional success.
At the Ateneo Alumni Association here in the Bay Area, plus eventually joining as a board member of Philippine International, it really helped me integrate my Filipino self to my American self. And so in the past 5 years, that's been my, let's say, energetic focus for my own growth.
As artificial intelligence continues to spark both excitement and concern, Danan believes its greatest potential lies in helping people.
We should not fear AI. We should not be scared of it. Before AI will take over the world, it will first be extremely beneficial to humankind.
For Danan, the true power of AI isn't in the technology itself, but in its potential to help scientists deliver better treatments and better outcomes for patients. Henny Espinosa, Bilyonaryo News Channel, San Francisco.
And that's Business 360. We'll keep tracking the moves that matter across markets, policy, and the economy. I'm Apa Ongpin. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.